Good afternoon and welcome to Just Jocelyn. I am your host and my guest is Rebecca Packard. You may all remember her from previous shows. And we thought today that we would have a two-part show where we talk about what's going on in the world, the pressures, the hypocrisy, the manipulations, the intensity of what's going on in our world. And maybe why it's happening or how it's happening, and then what can we do about it? How can we raise our vibrations? What does that mean? How do we do that? You know, are we talking woo-woo? A lot of people like to say that, and quite frankly, at this point, we could all do with a lot more woo-woo. So on that note, class is in. Welcome, Miss Rebecca.
Hi.
Hi, so glad to have you.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yay! It just seems that we go in cycles where things just get so intense, and I just get this message: call Rebecca. Call Rebecca. Rebecca, we need to do a show.
Where are you?
Where are you? And I know your life's been crazy. Before we jump into everything, what's going on in your life, your courses? What are you doing? Because you need to catch us up with that first.
Yeah. So I've written a book. It's about to be published in September at the latest, at the earliest next month. But supposedly September is the date that it's going to publish.
Okay.
And it's about the tools that I talk about all the time. I have an energetic protection course that's going to be coming out about the same time between September and October, where I talk about all the things that I do. There's a lot of different ways, but people always ask me, well, what do you do? What do you do?
Right.
I'm going to talk about exactly what I do, what my family does, what my 10 and 11-year-olds have been doing since they were 2 and 3 years old, which means like anyone can access that if they'd like to. And other than that, living life and raising kids.
In a crazy,
in
crazy
a crazy
world.
Space with, but like having them have the tools to manage emotion, to manage what's happening in the world, to manage the things that are coming to them from the digital space, from the real world space, and from just like everyday life. Like, don't you wish when you were like 8 and 9 years old, you had that tool that said, hey, I can help you calm down so you don't need to sit here and cry your face off for hours.
Correct.
Because you don't know what to do.
Right. And we have a world that the answer is take a pill. There's something wrong with you, when it's actually pretty darn normal. We just don't have any tools or people that understand it anymore that cannot work with the children. So tell me from the children's point of view, what are the stresses and what's going on with them that, and it doesn't have to be personal, I'm talking in general. With kids today that is making life difficult for them, that they're, in your boys' cases, that they have tools that they need. What do they need tools for? What are they encountering?
Well, I mean, if we look statistically, pre-pandemic, our suicide rates of children under the age of 18 had already skyrocketed.
Okay.
Post-pandemic, now we're in a 5-year window. It's not technically 5 years, but it's a 5-year window. And it's almost doubled from the skyrocket that took place. So we have suicidal 8 and 9-year-olds. That's not normal. We have children who are harming each other. Self-harm is a thing, and the numbers are through the roof. And this is all stuff you can go on government websites and find, that is all being tracked and looked at in multiple different spaces. Harvard's done studies. All these different people that have major accreditations have all done studies on this.
And are they giving any reasons?
Yes, multiple reasons.
Okay.
Some are focusing on post-pandemic trauma, because even though it was a lockdown situation, it's still a PTSD situation. It's still like sans post-war traumas. So look at the generation that followed World War I, World War II, and what that affected for the next 20 years. We're looking at a similar window for that. Even though there wasn't hand-to-hand combat in our situations, there was in some situations for different people.
I was going to say there was some
you might be sitting there going, well, that didn't affect me. No, but there were many people that did affect, and in a violent ways.
Correct.
And sadly, a lot of them were children. The other thing being is just the expectations put on children today, like, and this shows pre-pandemic, the expectations put on children in today's world are astronomically inappropriate and out of control. Your 5-year-old is not an NFL player. Everybody take a chill pill. The odds of him becoming an NFL player are less than 1.5%. And unless you live in like Texas or the South, it is far decreased from that. Like, so their expectations of who they should show up at, and then the fact that from 2 years old on, people are just handing them a telephone, they're in their own little world. So when they have to come to real world, physical world, tangible world, you and I world, they're like, that in the studies of children with autism is 1 in 36 children today have autism. That is an entirely different aspect, but it also needs to be taken into consideration because you're talking about a group of humans where 1 in 36, and now when we look at the statistics of sexual assault, 1 in every 2 girls, and they say 1 in every 2 boys, but they don't know because boys are 99% more likely not to ever speak of it and not to come forward. So these are only statistics based off of things that have been confirmed.
And verified, right.
And verified. So those statistics should be horrifying to everyone because they are horrifying to everyone because we're talking about an age group that's under 18 and we're talking about a population of people who are a lot of the times just like finding out how to people through television. I don't know if you've watched any kids programs these days, but the bully mentality is in people, not, I will say this very carefully, and you're going to be offended. I'm sorry if you're offended. Take it however you will.
Put your offensive pants on.
Like, we're going to go there. When you watch children's television and it's actual people actors, many times stereotypes are over-exaggerated and bullying is embraced. And they will say, no, it's not. But do me a favor and go find a kids program with people, not cartoons, because somehow the cartoon people are getting it way better.
Right, but the real people, the actors.
But the real world actor people are sharing a bully mentality that doesn't, like, that we don't want to exist. However, children learn by watching television, whether you all like it or not, or whether we like it or not, children learn by watching television. That's why it's called television programming, right? Sans 1950.
It's actually television.
Yeah.
L-I-E.
Yeah. But like in 1950, it came out as television programming. We only call it TV now because that makes people feel better. But it's about programming.
Correct.
And so
programming.
When you watch things consecutively over and over and over again, that's going into your subconscious mind, whether you want it to or you don't want it to. And even if you're telling your conscious mind, oh, we're not doing that, your subconscious mind doesn't know. It's going...
It's still being filed.
File. It's like Hogwarts in there. Like, it's going to happen. Wow. So these are things that are affecting our younger populations. These are also things that are affecting our adult populations because we're all living in conjunction with each other.
Correct.
So whether you have children in your home or in your neighborhood, or whether you have nieces or nephews or grandchildren, their lives, their energy is affecting you, your life and your energy is affecting them. And we call it a cross-contamination because it really is, because your silent vibrational frequency cannot be shut off.
It's just always there.
It's just always there.
It's like saying don't breathe.
Exactly. It's going to be permeating, which is how we maneuver through the world. So you're like a magnet and your frequency aligns you with things that will be within your frequency.
So you attract, so you're a magnet and you attract. So if you're negative and you're despondent and that's what you're going to attract.
Those situations. And if you are not, or you are actively doing things to not, you will be able to maneuver around them or move through them with ease and grace. It's not like bad things are never going to happen to you again.
Right.
Because they are, but everybody deals with them differently. And when we have tools, we can be preventative. I know that's a really intense word for a lot of people because we've been taught in this world to be not proactive. We are taught not to be preventative.
Mm-hmm.
We are taught to wait till the very last second. Chaos is embraced.
Yes.
It's not.
Yeah.
Chaos
It
is
should
stress.
be avoid
Stress
at
is
all
a killer.
costs.
And we
Yep.
know that because we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of studies that show stress is bad for our health. It's
Mm-hmm.
bad for our mental health. It's bad for our physical health. It's bad for our emotional health. It's bad for our relationship health. Like everything. It's
It
just
affects
bad.
everything. Yep.
Yeah. So less stress, happier life. So how do you have less stress? You have preventative tools. What makes that better? Either learning them today if you don't have any, or learning them from a young age so that you know, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. Like you learn to tie your shoes. Well, learn to do some breath work. You learn to
Correct.
go grocery shopping for yourself. Learn to do some meditation. Like, and that can look like anything. People think, oh, I got to wrap my head around 50 minutes of meditation. No, you don't. I meditate for 5 minutes a day. That's it.
Just get
Because you have tons of studies, again, that show that 1 to 5 minutes is just as good as 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
Correct.
So why not embrace it? Don't make things harder than they need
are.
to be.
Especially
They
if you have a
don't
busy
need
life.
to be hard.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all about easy or I'm not doing it. Ease and grace. You know me, for years and years and years, my whole motto has been ease and grace.
Yep. There's no need to beat a dead horse. There is no need, these people that go, I don't have the time, or, I just can't focus. I just sit there for 1 to 5 minutes, sit outside and listen to the wind in the trees, or sit by a little river and listen to the water.
And you don't even have to do that. You can pull it up on YouTube and it's free.
Correct.
My channel has 65 different 1 minute in nature. It's waters,
nice.
it's streams, it's ocean,
Yep.
it's water sounds. Again, there are tons of studies that have been done that the sound of water is
Yes.
relaxing. It changes your cortisol levels. It helps you secrete the different hormones you need to wash out the hormones that cause stress, that cause overwhelm, that cause dis-ease.
Dis-ease. Doesn't it also, it has something to do with grounding as well.
Yeah.
The water has
a grounding effect.
grounding effect,
like
yes.
Lava rocks, the ocean, going to the ocean, listening to the ocean, especially being around ocean things. They emit a frequency that helps you to balance your ions so that you don't have too many negative, too many positive.
Right.
That helps you to balance what your ionic field looks like. And that's why you see, oh, that's right, like even in NASA, they're using grounding mats. Why? Because they're in space, or they're practicing being in space, and they still need that.
Correct.
They need that balance in their biome,
yep.
because otherwise their mitochondria is going to go crazy and the rest of their body is going to be like, can't function. So
Exactly. And so, people don't believe in this frequency thing. Everything in life has a frequency. And my favorite videos, YouTube, etc., is when they take these little sound clips and they put it on a flower or on a leaf or on a mushroom. I mean, who thinks of that stuff? But I love that they do. They emit a frequency, which is a kind of music.
so do you.
It's not, I mean, some things do make that sound, but that's not what we're talking
most
about.
Most of the time they don't, unless there is an imbalance.
Or they're stressed out.
Or they're stressed out. And they show you that. So if you look up school plant, what do they call it? The school plant example. I mean, I guess if you put that in, it'll come up.
Okay.
It has another name. But they take a plant and they put it in a glass box, a ventilated glass box, and they put one on one side of the room, and this is done in a school, and then they put it on the another one, same type of plant, on a box, same setup, on the other side of the room. One you talk to with positive intention,
And the
with
other one,
love, and all the things. And it shows you what your words and what your frequencies and how they affect different things. And so one is all about love, one is all about happiness, one is all rainbows and unicorns. The other one is about bullying and being mean and using the words like I hate, and just being rude and different things. And it shows you what that does
to those
by
plants.
Just the frequency. They water them, they feed them, they do all the same things, but They use different language. One of them dies, it shrivels up, it turns brown, it does awful.
Wow.
And the other one flourishes and grows and emits all of that. And that's the power of the frequency of your words. That's the power of the frequency of your being. We all have auras. We all have all these different things, chakras, auras, all these different things that are emitting frequency.
Well, we're a giant computer. I don't like the word computer because that intimates transhuman to me, and I don't like that. But but we have mechanical parts. We have emotional parts. We have pumps. We have electrical circuits. We have a whole system that can heal itself. We have a brain that talks to all the parts of our body. So I was listening to a medical podcast, and they were talking about the blood-brain barrier. And without getting too weird, but that there are things that can break through it. And it can be heavy metals. It can be spike proteins. It can be all sorts of things. And when it breaks through, it creates a hole. And if there's a hole in that blood-brain barrier, your brain doesn't fall out. I'm just saying there's an injury to it, and it can leak. And so heavy metals and all sorts of other things and poisons and stuff can go up into your brain. And your brain is so smart that it shuts down to the point, doesn't turn off, but it shuts down so it can repair itself. And what we're looking at in society right now at a very high level is many people's brains shutting down to fix, repair, cure what is going on. And in that process, it slows down the communication and what it does to your liver and your kidney and your heart and your tendons and your muscles, etc. So that conversation slows way down and you get dis-ease because of that. So there's another whole medical side to what's going on, and you're looking at people and they're unable, when that happens, to make logical decisions. They're unable to disseminate right from wrong. Do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this? They are slow in deciding what's right for them. They even forget what they're all about.
Which is also a trauma response too.
Yes.
So now you have it hand in hand. And then you have all the other things that nobody wants to talk about, which are like the parallel shifts that are taking place and the energetic shifts that are taking place. People are like, oh, we're having such a hot summer. Oh, global warming. Well, yes, global warming. Also the fact that millions of acres of trees in Canada burned last year. Those fires burned until January, February, and some of them are still embering.
Right.
That's heat. And that's 4 hours away from us. And so New England, welcome to the club. It's going to be hotter for a good 20 years till trees grow back in your northern hemisphere.
Right. And it's not climate change the way that they're telling us. It's actual issues going on on our planet.
Well,
correct.
It's so many things, because we also know that like the Sahara Desert was covered in water at one point.
Correct.
Which is why they find boats places and they find sea creatures. So it isn't about what we see in our short little grain of sand time frame that we feel is so big and so immense and so amazing, and it is. But there's so many millions of those that have happened and so many millions of scenarios that have happened, but also recycle. Because I see the people who are complaining about climate control and they don't recycle and they don't do any of the things to prevent any of those situations. Don't use things from companies who don't recycle. Don't purchase things and pay and vote with your dollar to places where they're not living the lifestyle that you want to see lived.
Correct. Or look at your government officials and the politicians and say, stop telling me about climate change.
And do something about it.
While you're allowing, and not that they don't have the right, but while you're encouraging these companies to do exactly what you're yelling at us about.
Right. I'm supposed to recycle all of my things, except for you live in a $5 million home. You're pumping 82 gallons a minute of water through your shower, and you drive 16 cars. Please don't talk to me about how you're helping the planet. Because you're not.
Well, it's also, so I've also been watching a number of videos, China and Japan. And it started with the schools and how they do no testing till our probably 4th or 5th grade, maybe 6th.
Yeah.
So they are learning life skills, how to cook, how to sew, how to knit, how to clean, how to get along, how to climb a tree.
Well, if you remember, we used to do that prior to Gates saying that we needed to collect a ton of information. And now we're testing kindergartners. We're testing first graders.
Why?
My kids are in 4th and 5th grade this year, 6th and 7th next year. They take 6 weeks of their education and test them on things that they haven't been taught to see what their baseline is.
Why?
This is a waste of time. It's a waste of life. It's a waste of a 180-day cycle. You've taken 6 weeks.
Out of there.
6 weeks is over 25 days of time that you've taken for tests that you prepared in small spaces for a focus group. Why? Teach them how to people. Teach them how to read. Teach them how to write. Teach them our history.
Build, give them civics.
But
they don't. They're giving them everything.
My children had no science this year except for once every other week or once a week, they'd have 45 minutes. They had no history. It was done in a 45-minute block. But they did a lot of math. A lot of math.
Okay.
So I don't think so. I don't think that's a good way to balance out.
I also feel that they should be outside. They should be running and jumping. I mean, playing gym with a pencil and a rolled up piece of paper because we don't want anybody to feel bad they can't play golf.
Right.
Or they can't run and they can't jump. I'm sorry. They all need to do that all of the time. I also think they need the basics. I watched this whole Japanese school. They all clean the school.
Right.
And don't all go, my precious
teaching
child.
Responsibility and teaching community. Community starts when you're a child and you feel encouraged to not be a litter bug. You're encouraged to recycle and do things. You're encouraged to hold the door for others.
Yes.
You're encouraged to say, yes, please, thank you. It's not about manipulating. It's about teaching people. Schools became schools to help people who didn't know how to be people in society when they came from far reaches of different areas and all came together so that people could live cohesively and get along. That's why schools exist.
Right.
Now we're taking that aspect of that cohesive general respect
and using
general hospitality, general how to take care of yourself and the people around you. We're taking that out.
Correct. Well, it's now indoctrination.
Right.
It's an indoctrination camp.
Yeah.
A very high-priced one, I might say, at property taxes in the state of New Hampshire, which is one of the only 50 states that uses property taxes to pay for everything that the Constitution doesn't let us.
Well, and since 1917, we didn't have taxes, and we were still able to do all of those things.
Yeah,
so,
well, we weren't paying for everybody. So, all right, well, I think we've kind of set the scene for the second half of the show. So give people a website.
Oh, RebeccaPackard.com.
Okay, I was waiting for something really fancy.
Yeah,
Rebecca Packard with a CK?
Yeah, REBECCA. Packard, PACKARD.com.
I love it.
You can find everything you need to know about me there.
Everything. Yeah. I love this. All right, so let's take a quick break and we'll come back for part 2. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back.